Hi everybody, I'm Jack, and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Well, it's just such a nice day here that I couldn't stay inside any longer. The maid was finishing up at the house, and I figured I'd just get out of the way and get out here and get a little fresh air this afternoon. So I'm out in the park here, and I'm kind of scouting places, trees where they're spaced right so I can hang up my hammock, man. It's really nice. Now we're getting more fall-like temperatures, so I'm gonna spend more time outside. So anyhow, today's video is about raw vegan food and optimal digestion. I do videos every day, so if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button now, click on the little bell and check notifications to make sure you stay subscribed to the channel. And if you're subscribed, go make sure you check that little box too, because YouTube tends to unsubscribe people from time to time. Whew, it's just really nice out of here. I'm gonna have to pull this shirt off. I was sitting in the shade over there, and it's one of those type days where it is like it's just enough of a temperature difference between the shade that I need my shirt on, my long sleeve, because when I sit in the shade and read, it gets a little bit chilly out here. All right, so these are just like some recent observations. I'm always trying to get the data, give the data as fresh, when it's as fresh on my mind as possible. I know I'm gonna be squinting a little bit here because I'm pretty much looking into the sun. You just get your better light and cameras, and if I have to close my eyes and enjoy the sun, you guys don't mind, do you? No, I'm always kind of more aware on this. I try to do videos like this, and I try to do videos when I'm talking about the cooked food, you know, as close after having eaten some cooked food as possible. Now, this past weekend going to the beach, I didn't really eat that much cooked food. Friday night, we hadn't found the little Thai place yet, so I had just a little bit, but it was mostly like the one day at the Raw Vegan Truck, I had a wrap that was a tortilla type wrap. And then that one night we had a little bit of quinoa in a kind of a quinoa bowl. Other than that, stayed raw. But as I'm always saying, not all raw is equal. Not all raw is going to affect you the same. That's why I'm always stressing, don't get so caught up on this raw part of it. Or if you are of the mindset that I want to be fully raw, at least don't do anything just to be fully raw. You know, I'm not one of those types. I've talked about this before. I'm not a fanatic about food combining, and I'm sure I break you know, rules all the time. But I don't think I break like big rules, fundamental rules, or make like big no-nos, because most of the time my digestion is pretty flawless. I tell you guys that all the time. Well, what I do notice is like this weekend, and quite interestingly, I got on the scale this morning just out of curiosity, and I dropped a couple of pounds. Even though I ate heavier than I'm used to, I ate things that I'm sure had a lot more fat in it than I'm used to. I guess I wasn't eating as much overall throughout the day, so I actually dropped a couple of pounds. So it's odd for me talking like that, talking about how I've been eating heavy the last few days, but I have been eating heavy the last few days. If you watched the video that I did from the beach and my little trip, you probably saw that little sandwich in there. Why it was very good. You know, I had that for lunch both days, and also had a kale salad at the same time. And I had some good desserts. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had desserts that are way off the menu of what I normally eat, but I don't get that all that often, so no harm, no foul. I can shake most stuff out of my body within a few days, but as I was driving home yesterday, my stomach didn't feel great. Now, it wasn't terrible. I don't want to exaggerate and go, oh my God, that heavier raw food with the nuts and the desserts. I'm not going to try to tell you it like just killed my stomach and I was in pain, but there was definitely, I just felt almost kind of this kind of bloated. My stomach was grumbling a little bit, which it never grumbles. My stomach is almost always happy. So my takeaway from that is that the simplest version of this life, listen, it's always going to be, everything's going to be a trade-off, and you have to determine, and you have to decide for yourself what you're willing to trade off. Like, in other words, like I went to a place where I had something that was a little bit more gourmet. It's a little bit like the desserts, a little bit more kind of special occasion type things, but still always in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, what's the trade-off here? how much is this food going to bring me down? How am I going to feel after I eat this food? And how long is it going to take me to kind of get my normal feel, my normal flow back after doing this? Now I can tell you, I ate pretty heavy and it doesn't take all that long. Today I feel like my stomach's already back to normal and I really haven't done anything special. Yesterday I got back on the fruit, ate some bananas before I left to drive back. I had a smoothie while I was in Pensacola. I picked up a little bag of kale chips, and then I had a salad last night. Today so far I've had a bowl of ice cream, a big green smoothie, and already just by that type stuff, fruits and greens, I feel back to normal. I feel back to normal. I think it'll probably take a couple of days of really nice and clean before I get just that totally nice. It's hard to describe. I can't even really describe how I feel when I'm eating just like I like it. But if the best way to do, you don't have to, listen, if you're very sensitive, okay, get the combining food charts and pay a little bit more attention to them. For me, I just don't break any major rules. I try not to, you know, mix too much fat with when I'm having sweet. I know there's certain things, I eat my melons by themselves. Pretty much with the fruit, I can combine fruit. I don't have a whole lot of problem combining fruit any which way, with a few exceptions. But there's optimal, and that's what I'm talking about, is optimal. Absolutely optimal. I find that I have to have optimal hydration to have that optimal digestion. A lot of times, even when I'm eating bananas, and that's why there's kind of a, I'm going to talk about this next little trick, and that's why I like to eat, you know, I really don't like to do a day of just bananas. If I'm able to get like higher water content fruit in there, if I'm able to start the day with a higher water content fruit, better. If on a perfect day, I like to start with juicy and work to bananas. Like an optimal day for me would be probably having either grapes or mangoes or melon. Well, when I was in Costa Rica, papaya, pineapple for my first meal. And if I've got the time and I'm not running around, I like to get like a mono meal of something juicy first, and then I love to get a second mono meal of a different fruit second. I love it when it's actually 10 or 11 or 12 before I even get to bananas, because then I've been hydrated by the fruit, and I'm just finding that I hydrate a whole lot better by the fruit than I do by the water, because I've kind of gotten out of the habit. In fact, I don't drink a lot of water, and I have to watch myself on that. But when I build like that, you know, juicier first and then get into the bananas, and especially if it's a green smoothie, if I've eaten the juicier fruits and then my first banana type meal is a green smoothie, obviously there's a little liquid in that, and I find that to really work. Like if it's juicy, then green smoothie, I don't even have to think about the drinking of water throughout the day. You know, and then I go to the gym. About the time I really drink as much water as I drink between sets at the gym. The reason I keep talking about the drinking part is that is important, at least to me, that's very important to my hydration. I notice I'm very sensitive. I'm not very sensitive as far as like it bothers me, but I pay attention. I'm sensitive as far as noticing things. And I notice when I'm not as hydrated as I should be, when I've neglected the water, or when I've just been eating bananas throughout the day, or eating something that's not high water content, and I haven't been drinking, that affects my digestion too. I notice it. If you do this lifestyle for a while and you really tune in and you really are observant, you're going to start noticing the subtle differences. Like, you know, somebody might say that's just new to this, like, well, what's the big difference if you do this or that? But you start to tune into those subtle differences, and you're not going to have no matter what you're eating, you may not be eating anything that's necessarily bad or that's a bad food combining choice, but if you don't stay hydrated, hydration greatly affects your digestion, and let's see, how can I say, makes it a little bit harder for things to move, a little bit less comfortable to eliminate. So for me, it's all about hydration more or less proper food combining, and you know, just not including a lot of the heavier stuff on a regular basis. I try to stick on a normal basis to around 10% added fat, which works the best for me. I'm probably never right on 10%. I go higher, I go lower. I think it balances out and averages out to about 10%. But yeah, I just always notice, and I have to kind of pay attention, and then that's when I really have to be a little bit more observant. When I'm away for a weekend like this and I'm eating more than one meal, that's something that's not optimal for me, that's higher fat, that's heavier, that's denser food, that's going to take more work for my body to digest, more time to pass through, I pay a little bit more attention to it then, and I notice it a little bit more. But like I say, you know, as I was in the car coming back yesterday, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do all this. Even though I'm not big on the cleanse type stuff, I was like, okay, now I need to do something. I need to do something after this, the way my stomach was feeling. So I was thinking, oh, I'm just going to do something like a 3-fruit cleanse this week. I feel a lot better today. So far, all I've had is bananas and greens. Now, when I leave the park and go back to the house in a little bit, I'm going to have some grapes this afternoon, get a little bit more, you know, get some juicy in there. And ideally, I should have eaten those grapes this morning. I've got about 7 pounds, maybe more, of Moondrop grapes. So I'm about to hit those heavy for the week. I don't know how many I'll lay into this afternoon. That'll be a nice little prelude to dinner. That's also a good thing too that I notice. I know raw foodists that do that. And I've paid attention, and even though I don't do it, I do it from time to time and notice it. It's like having something juicier like that, like eating those grapes, and then I'll probably have my dinner or whatever that's going to be, like maybe an hour and a half after eating those grapes. And that just kind of like primes the pump, lubes things up. It gives me the hydration my stomach needs. I don't like to drink. I don't drink anymore with food. I haven't done that for a long time, but yeah, I definitely, most definitely find when I'm eating simple and raw is optimal. Now, we can't live in optimal conditions all the time. I understand that, and sometimes I mean, even if I could, I don't choose to. Once again, it's a trade-off. Only you can decide for yourself how much the trade-off is on your digestion, on the way you feel in general. But without a doubt, when I'm eating low-fat, high water content, raw vegan, I feel my absolute best. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how good you're, like you, yesterday when my stomach was grumbling just a little bit, I acknowledged the fact that I forget that people go through that day to day, that I used to go through that all the time. I talked about that in a recent video, you know, about the unpredictability of life before this lifestyle. When you just wake up one day and you're like, okay, what am I going to get today? Is this going to be a good day? Am I going to feel a little crappy? Am I going to have indigestion? Am I going to be a little stocked up? Am I going to be a little going too much? You know, it's just kind of like a flashback, that feel of not being in, like, not having perfect digestion. I used perfect loosely. I'm sure I never have perfect digestion, but I sure know how I feel every day on this lifestyle, and I sure know how I felt before. So anyhow, take away what you will on that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed getting outside a little bit. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you again tomorrow. Love you bunches, guys. Peace.